Good afternoon and welcome. It's nice to be back at the Putnam Museum. When the first explorers came to the Mississippi River Valley, they saw a land unlike anything they'd seen before. They thought they had found a new Garden of Eden. And the stories they brought back seemed too good to be true. They talked about a land flowing with milk and honey. They told of a river teeming with fish and turtles, ducks and geese, possums. They had otters, beavers, and minks, of stands of hardwood forests, of prairies with soil so rich that all a man had to do was throw corn at the ground and then stand back because the ears would spring full grown right out of the dirt, knock a man over if he wasn't careful. Well, all that big talk soon created a huge flow of new settlers into this land. And a good deal of that talk was preserved in the form of an old folk song that was very popular back in the early 1800s. I'd like to do that for you right now. Way down upon the Wabash, such a land was never known. If Adam had crossed over it, why, this land he'd surely own. He'd say that this was the garden he lived in when he was a boy. He'd straightway pronounce it Eden in the state of Illinois. So move your families westward, bring all your girls and boys, and cross the Shawnee Ferry to the state of Illinois. Why, it was here that the Queen of Sheba came with Solomon of old, with wagon loads of spices, pomegranates and fine gold. And when she saw this lovely land, why, her heart was filled with such joy. Straightway said she, I'd like to be the queen in Illinois. So move your families westward, good health you will enjoy, and rise to wealth and honor in the state of Illinois. She's bounded by the Wabash, Mississippi, and the lakes. There's milk sick in her rolling hills, and in her swamps there's snakes. Ah, but these are slight diversions that take not from all of the joys of living in this garden spot called the state of Illinois. So move your families westward, bring all your girls and boys, and cross the Shawnee Ferry to the state of Illinois. Now, this final verse was almost certainly added at some time later because it talks about a place up to the northern part of the state, which was supposed to have been a great commercial city. And at the time that this song was first popular, that great commercial city consisted of about 3 cabins. It was a fur trading post at the time. And way up to the northward, on up by the borderline, the great commercial city, Chicago, you will find, where her men are all like Abelard, and her women like Eloise. All honest, virtuous people, because they live in Illinois. So move your families westward, bring all your girls and boys, and cross the Shawnee Ferry to the state of Illinois. So move your families westward, good health you will enjoy, the state of Illinois. Now, you know, the Mississippi River Valley supported life for thousands of years before the first white men came. Of course, those were the Native Americans, the American Indians. And they traveled on its waters, and they made their beads from its clamshells, hunted along the shores and the hills, and built their towns on its confluences. And much of their heritage was preserved in the form of the Native American stories and tales that we still hear today, including one about a creature that used to haunt this very area here. You see, many, many years ago, there was a village of peoples, and they lived at the edge of a forest by this Mississippi River. And they lived as they had always lived, happily hunting and fishing, until one day, trouble came to these people. Now, it all started one night when a young warrior went out to go hunting. He failed to return the next morning. A few days later, a young maiden disappeared. Now, it seemed that this young warrior had courted this young maiden, but her father refused to smile on him. So all the people of the village naturally assumed that they'd run off together. But then a few days later, a little boy was missing. A few days after that, it was a little girl. And so all the people of the village came to know that a Windigo was living in their forest. Now, a Windigo is a creature from the north. It's told about in songs and stories. It's a gigantic creature, and it's made of rock and earth. It has eyes like caves that hypnotize. And if you look into the eyes of a Windigo, you're in its power, and you must do whatever it tells you to do. Now, a Windigo, it's a cannibal being. It eats people, slowly roasted over an open fire. Now, since a Windigo is made of rock and earth, it can't be killed from the outside. It must be killed somehow from within. And normally, if a Windigo moved into your forest, you and your people, you went far, far away. But the people of this village loved the Mississippi Valley so much, they decided they would stay and try to kill the Windigo. So the next day, they all went out deep into the forest till they came to a clearing. And in that clearing, they dug a pit deeper than the tallest tree. And when they were done, they covered the pit over with branches, grass, and twigs, so you couldn't see the hole at all. Then late that night, all the villagers returned and hid in the brush around the clearing. And they waited and waited and waited until finally, way, way off in the distance, they could hear a sound. And they knew it was the Windigo. They could hear its giant rock feet crashing through the underbrush with every step as it came closer and closer and closer. And all the villagers hid their eyes so no one would accidentally look into the eyes of the Windigo. And still it came closer and closer and closer until finally it put one giant foot down on top of the pit and it crashed in and fell to the bottom. And all the villagers rushed to the edge of the pit and started throwing in rocks and branches and logs and twigs, dried leaves, in on top of the Windigo, anything that would burn. And then an old man took a coal that he'd brought from the fire, tossed it into the pit, and soon those leaves caught. And the flames licked up through the branches, and before long that whole pit turned into a roaring inferno. And as the people listened, they heard a sound like the wailing of the wind far, far off in the distance. And as they watched, they saw the rocks that made up the body of the Windigo explode from the heat. And they saw the dirt that made up its skin blacken and crumble. And suddenly they heard a horrible scream, but deep within the scream they could hear a voice. And the voice said, You can burn me up, but you'll never be rid of me. The Windigo will haunt this land forever. I'll be eating you and your children for generations to come. And just then, the fire collapsed into the pit, and thousands of ashes flew up into the sky. And each ash turned into one of the world's first mosquitoes. It flew off into the forest. And so you see, the Windigo kept his promise. He's been eating us and our children ever since that day. But now he can only eat us one bite at a time. And that's the story of how mosquitoes first came to the Mississippi Valley. Thank you very much. Well, I do have a girl in a stern wheel steamboat, house stove and engine room brass, hanging by the post on the main deck stair with her bluegrass skipping in the Mississippi too. Well, I ran up the river, come away last Sunday, little water on the Memphis gate. Get home without the muddy water rolling in the paddle, skipping in the Mississippi too. Hey, big river run wide, deep and run muddy, river run long after I am gone. Steamboat wheeling on the big wide bend, skipping in the Mississippi too. Well, it used to be spring, I'd ship on the river, 35 days in the valley line boats. Take a little money on a springtime trip, and we take off skipping in the Mississippi too. Hey, big river run wide, deep and run muddy, river run long after I am gone. Steamboat wheeling on the big wide bend, skipping in the Mississippi too. Come away last Sunday, put water on the Memphis gate. Wouldn't get home without the muddy water rolling in the paddle wheel skipping in the Mississippi too. Hey, big river run wide, deep and run the muddy, river run long after I am gone. Steamboat wheeling on the big wide bend, skipping in the Mississippi too. Hey, big river run wide, deep and run the muddy, river run long after I am gone. Steamboat wheeling on the big wide bend, skipping in the Mississippi too. Hey, big river run wide, deep and run muddy, river run long after I am gone. Steamboat wheeling on the big wide bend, skipping in the Mississippi too. Big river run wide, deep and run muddy, river run long after I am gone. Steamboat wheeling on the big wide bend, skipping in the Mississippi too. Big river run wide, deep and run muddy, river run long after I am gone. And the steamboat wheeling on the big wide bend, skipping in the Mississippi too. Big river run wide, deep and run muddy, river run long after I am gone. Steamboat wheeling on the big wide bend, skipping in the Mississippi too. About a year and a half ago, I was involved in a project sponsored by the Illinois Arts Council and the National Endowment for the Arts and the Library of Congress. And what we did was we went out in Schuyler County, the area I live in, and we tried to interview people and record examples of the old music that people used to play down in that part of the Midwest. And all throughout this project, I had people telling me all about one particular song, but they could never remember anything else about it except that it was about a preacher and a bear. That is until I ran into a fellow named Jesse Smith. And Jesse was 97 years old when I met him. Jesse knew this old song, and I'd like to play it for you right now. The Preacher and the Bear. Well, a preacher went a-hunting. It was on one Sunday morn. I thought it was against his religion, but he brought along his gun. Shot himself one very fine quail and one big needly hare. And on the way returning home, he met a great big grizzly bear. That that bear marched out in the middle of the road, walked with the preacher, you see. And that preacher got so excited that he climbed up a simmon tree. Well, the bear sat down upon the ground, and the preacher climbed out on the limb. And he raised his eyes to the Lord in the skies. He said these words to him. For the Lord delivered Daniel from the lion's den, and also from the belly of the whale, and then he'd be delivered from the fiery furnace. And the good book did declare, oh Lord, if you can't help me, for goodness sake, don't you help that bear. Well, now that preacher was sitting up in that tree trying to figure out what he's going to do all about this mess he's gotten himself into. And he was up there a long time. He didn't know what to do. Finally, he was struck with a bit of inspiration. Now it occurred to him that surely God made all things large and small. Why, the Lord wanted all his creatures to live together in peace. So he decided he would be a peacemaker. He would try and call down and talk to that bear. He would try to reason it out, come up with some agreement that they could both live with. I do mean live. But he cleared his throat, put on his very best Sunday preacher's voice, and he called down to the bear. He said, Brother Bear, what say you and I try to reason this thing out amongst ourselves? Now that bear, he looked up in the tree, he kind of had a funny expression on his face. That bear went, ah! Preacher went, nice bear. Bear went, ah! Preacher went, good bear. Bear went, ah! Now, as you might well imagine, by this time that preacher is beginning to lose his sense of confidence. But he decides to give it one last try. He calls down again, he says, Brother Bear, if I was to give you just one nice juicy bite, go away and leave me alone. That bear just went, ah! Now the preacher sat up in that tree, must have been all night, and he prayed, dear Lord, please help me or I'll never win this fight. Well, about that time the branch broke off and the preacher came tumbling down. His feet, they started running long before he hit the ground. Ah, but that bear was not to be outdone. And after that preacher he flew, and then he up and grabbed him and he squeezed him half in two. Well, the preacher put up one heck of a fight, but that bear held tight to him as he raised his eyes to the Lord in the skies, and he said these words again. For the Lord delivered Daniel from the lion's den, and also from the belly of the whale, and then he'd be delivered from the fiery furnace. And the good book did declare, oh Lord, if you can't help me, for goodness sake, don't you help that bear. Well, now they fought all the way to the river. Lord, it was a terrible sight. That bear was really laying it on, but that preacher, he done all right. He dragged that bear in the water, and then 3 times in and out. And as that grizzly limped away, well, you could hear that preacher shout, oh, the Lord delivered Daniel from the lion's den, and also from the belly of the whale, and then, well, now it may not look like much to you from where you sit up there, oh Lord, but the hardest job I ever done was baptizing this bear. Oh, the Lord delivered Daniel from the lion's den, also from the belly of the whale, and then he'd be delivered from the fiery furnace. And the good book did declare, oh Lord, if you can't help me, for goodness sake, don't you help that bear.
Annabelle's father liked to talk about the days when he was a young man growing up on the river, and his favorite story pertained to the time that he met Annabelle's mother. He was rowing his boat to a place called Henry's Landing to trade at the floating general store that was there. And as he was coming up around the bend, he heard the low, sweet voice of a woman singing softly across the water. She was singing, oh, my darling Nellie Gray, they have taken you away, and I'll never see my darling anymore. And as he came around the bend, he saw this beautiful young girl sitting up on the roof of the woodshed, singing as if she was just singing to the birds and the trees. And the sunlight was shining down on her golden blonde hair, and he took one look, and he was a goner. He figured she was the prettiest thing he'd ever seen. By that long green valley of the old Kentucky shore, where I whiled many happy hours away, a-sittin' and a-singin' by the little cabin door, where lived my darling Nellie Gray. Oh, my darling Nellie Gray, they have taken you away. I'll never see my darling anymore. I'm sitting by the river and I'm weeping all the day. Fare thee well to my old Kentucky shore. When the moon was in the heavens and the stars were shining bright, I would take my darling Nellie Gray. We'd float down the river in my little birch canoe, while my banjo so sweetly I would play. Oh, my darling Nellie Gray, they have taken you away. I'll never see my darling anymore. They've taken you to Georgia to work your life away. Now you're gone from that old Kentucky shore. The day, hark, there's someone a-knocking at my door. I hear the angels calling, I see my Nellie Gray. Fare thee well to my old Kentucky shore. Oh, my darling Nellie Gray, up in heaven there they say, they'll never take you from me anymore. I'm coming, 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 while the angels clear the way. Fare thee well to my old Kentucky shore.
I'd like to do another song from the Western Illinois Rag album. And this is a song about my very favorite time of year. It's the culmination of the whole year's work for these folks. Now, this is a song I wrote about harvest down in Schuyler County a few years ago, but I think it applies to harvest just about any place in the Midwest. This is called Silhouette Against the Stars. Feel the frost on the ground, see the afterglow of sunset settle down, as it turns from dusk to dark on the prairie tonight. By the giant trees in peeling shades of white, the old farmhouse it stands, silhouette against the stars on a chill November night. Hear the howling of the hounds as they call across the fields, and the combines rumbling down the rows. The corn is in, it's time to count the yield. By the strength of their hands, through the generations they have worked these lands, from the fathers to the sons and on it goes, just as surely as the river flows, and another harvest comes. Silhouette against the stars on a chill November night. Hear the howling of the hounds as they call across the fields, and the combine's rumbling down the road. His corn is in, it's time to count the yield. Trucks roll by with their mounds of yellow corn piled high. To the elevators and the fields they're bound, and with every bump it showers to the ground, till the roads are lined with gold. Silhouette against the stars on a chill November night, hear the howling of the hounds as they call across the fields, and the combine's rumbling down the road. His corn is in, it's time to count the yield. Now the fields lie in sleep through the weary months of winter, cold and deep. Beneath the frozen waves of drifted snow, till the balmy winds of spring begin to blow, and the cycle starts anew. Thank you very much. I grew up in a family of 4 boys. And in my family, I was the number 3 boy, which meant I had 2 older brothers and 1 younger brother. And in our family, we had a little tradition, and I think this is probably true for most families. The oldest brothers or sisters pick on the younger brothers and sisters all the way down the line. So in my family, I had 2 brothers that used to pick on me mercilessly. But it was okay because I had 1 little brother I used to pick on just as bad. Well, in our family, the oldest brother was also the ringleader. And in one particular instance, he told my second oldest brother to pull a terrible prank on me. He told him to eat my pet frog. And you know what? He did. He swallowed him right down whole, held him up in the air. That was it. And I was just a little kid at the time. I started screaming and crying. I called my folks in and I told on him, of course. And he got a licking, which made me feel a little bit better. But then all of a sudden, he didn't feel too good. He started turning kind of green. Of course, that was the end of my poor pet frog. My brother ate my frog, then I found out by the law. My brother ate my frog, yeah. And he swallowed it right down with a squishy, squashy sound. My brother ate my frog, yeah. Good. Now he was the best of pets. Not noisy, but quite wet. My brother ate my frog, yeah. With eyes that bugged right out and a rather wide green mouth. My brother ate my frog, yeah. Now he lived beneath my bed, and I used to call him Fred. My brother ate my frog, yeah. And he lived on flies and bugs, and occasionally messed Mom's rugs. My brother ate my frog, yeah. Well, my brother ate my frog, my brother ate my frog. My brother ate my frog, yeah. And he swallowed it right down with a squishy, squashy sound. My brother ate my frog, yeah. Now brother ate him on a dare. He held him right up in the air. My brother ate my frog, yeah. And as it slid on down his throat, I heard one final croak. My brother ate my frog, yeah.
But now brother's feeling out of sorts, and he's getting lots of warts. My brother ate my frog, yeah! And now his eyes are bugging out. These days he has a wider mouth. My brother ate my frog, yeah! By the pond he goes each night, snapping at the flies in flight. My brother ate my frog, yeah! And he squats staring at the moon while he croaks a strange sad tune. My brother ate my frog, yeah! Well, my brother ate my frog, my brother ate my frog, my brother ate my frog, yeah! And he swallowed it right down with a squishy, squashy sound. My brother ate my frog, yeah! Now the doctors haven't got a clue. There's not a thing that they can do. My brother ate my frog, yeah! They say there's nothing we've found yet, but you might take him to the vet. My brother ate my frog, yeah! And though it bothers Mom and Dad, well, I just don't feel that bad. My brother ate my frog, yeah! 'Cause if you eat your brother's pet, well, you deserve just what you get. My brother ate my frog, yeah! Well, my brother ate my frog, my brother ate my frog, my brother ate my frog, yeah! And he swallowed it right down with a squishy, squashy sound. My brother ate my frog, yeah! My brother ate my frog, yeah! My brother ate my frog, yeah! Thank you very much. Seems I'm getting a frog in my throat. I'd like to try and do another song that was part of the music collecting project, some of the songs we gathered around Schuyler County. This was a song about a phenomenon that kind of occurred a lot here in the Midwest, because the early settlers, when they first came here, were kind of a little bit unevenly apportioned. There was roughly 10 men to every woman. But what ended up happening was that a lot of old bachelors ended up living alone out on the prairie as they got into their older years, and this is a song from the point of view of one of those old men, only he thinks he might actually have gotten the better end of the deal. This is called the Stern Old Bachelor. I am a stern old bachelor, my age is 44. I do declare I will not live with women anymore. I have a stove that's worth 10 cents, got a table worth 15. I cook my gruel in oyster cans and keep my things so clean. Oh, little Sanchanti, give to me, for I'm a stern old bachelor from matrimony free. Come home late at night, I smile and walk right in. I never hear a voice cry out, I say, where have you been? On a cold and stormy night, in my cozy little shack, I sing my songs and think my thoughts with no one to talk back. Oh, little Sanchanti, give to me, for I'm a stern old bachelor from matrimony free. I go to bed whenever I please, and I get up just the same. I change my socks 3 times a year with no one to complain. At nights when I'm in peaceful sleep, my snores can do no harm. I never have to walk the floors with a baby in my arms. Oh, little Sanchanti, give to me, for I'm a stern old bachelor from matrimony free. And when I die and go to heaven, as all good bachelors do, I'll never have to grieve for fear my wife will get there too. Oh, little Sachandy, give to me, for I'm a stern old bachelor from matrimony free.
Now, one aspect of music I haven't really touched on was gospel music. I'd like to do a song which has been still found around the churches in Schuyler County, and this is probably in just about every church still today. It's one of the most popular gospel songs I've heard of. I've rearranged it a little bit for the bottleneck slide guitar, but I think you'll still recognize the old song, Amazing Grace.
And when we've just begun. blind, but now I see. Thank you very much. I'd like to end our little musical odyssey by going back to our point of departure, the river, the lifeblood of the Midwest here, and do a song off the Western Illinois Rag album. This is a song about the way things happen these days on the river. This is called Runnin The River. Cup of coffee in the cool of the night. Off in the distance I see Beardstown's lights, heading upriver to Mapletown. Gonna unload these barges and turn them around. Just as long as the moon shines bright, we'll be running that river all night. Let 'em roar, big engines roar. Open 'em up some more. You gotta burn, big diesels burn. I wanna make that muddy water churn. There's a card game going in the cabin below. Someone's picking on an old banjo, checking the channel with the bright spotlights. Loud up river in the middle of the night. Just as long as the moon shines bright, we'll be running that river all night. Let 'em roar, big engines roar. Open 'em up some more. You gotta burn, big diesels burn. I wanna make that muddy water churn. And it's 500,000 tons of steel and coal, 10,000 horses my hands control. The lifeblood of a living land, in muddy veins, water and sand. Just as long as the moon shines bright, we'll be running that river all night. Let 'em roar, big engines roar. You've gotta open 'em up some more. Come on and burn, big diesels burn. I wanna make that muddy water churn. Sleepy towns on the river serene, cut from the cloth of the American dream. Corner cafes and the redneck bars, local kids in their hot rod cars. Just like me, they're a little behind, out of touch, out of time. Now I can't make sense of this world anymore, but I know how to make these mighty engines roar. Just as long as the moon shines bright, we'll be running that river all night. Let 'em roar, big engines roar. Open 'em up some more. You gotta burn, big diesels burn. I wanna make that muddy water churn.